Is it recording?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's Thanksgiving, and we are telling Grandma and Grandpa that we're recording this for a school project, but it's actually for their Christmas present. Little do they know. So yeah.
How did you first meet your husband?
I was in high school, and I was a junior in high school in Ogden, Utah, and I was really all about doing well and having good grades. I was a cheerleader, and anyway, there was another school in town, two other high schools exactly, and sometimes we would exchange activities. Well, there was a church that had dances on Saturday nights, and kids from two of the high schools, Ogden High and Ben Lomond, would go to those. Well, like I said, I was really interested in being a good student, so I would go to the library on Washington Boulevard in Ogden, Utah. And I would study. And as a little side, I used to get cold sores a lot when I got anxious. Well, I was at the library, and I was working on a project, and there was this young man that I'd seen before at a table near me, and he was, I have to say this, he was in a light blue Oxford button-down collar shirt and tan pants, which was the thing to be doing at our time. So anyway, I have a big cold sore on my chin. And I was working, trying to concentrate, but he was so cute I could hardly keep my eyes off of him. So sure enough, he comes over to sit down and talk to me. So I take my folder and hold it up above my chin. And he said, "You don't have to worry about it. I get those too." And that was kind of the beginning of a almost 54-year-old marriage.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Describe your marriage proposal.
Oh my goodness. Well, we had a long time courtship when we were juniors in high school, and I think we really knew then that we really loved each other, but we were very young, and it was made a lot of sense for us to start dating other people, to have a little more experiences in our lives, and so we did that. Karen dated other people, young men, and I dated other young ladies, and I think it was a good thing because we really realized who we were happiest with. And as our relationship grew and we had other experiences in life with other people, we got to a point where, as it turned out, she was going to go to California to be with her aunt and learn about things in her life, and I was going in the service. So
California.
In California, yeah, near to where Karen was going to be, and this was not planned. We didn't know each other were going in those directions.
Wow.
At any rate, I did that, performed my military service, and she was in California at the University of California. And just as I thought about things and what I wanted to do with my life, especially I didn't want to spend the entire life in the military, and I thought about who I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. And I wrote her a letter and basically proposed in the letter. So,
Oh, he didn't propose. He said, he wrote me a letter and said, I'm going to marry
Yeah.
you.
Oh.
yeah, that's really very true. So that's how that was the proposal, and it was long distance proposal.
Wow,
that's awesome.
That's really cool.
Tell me about some of the traditions that have been passed down through our family. When and how did they get started?
Okay, I'm sorry this is a short video rather than a full-time movie because I am so dedicated to my heritage. I am a third generation, 100% Dane. And all I knew, I thought the whole world was related. I didn't know the neighbors in my area weren't my cousins.
Wow.
I grew up in a fairly small town and we were all Danish. Both sides of my family were Danish. My father's parents came from a tiny island called Bornholm. It's off the coast of Denmark and Sweden. And I want to say it is 9 miles wide and 21 miles long.
Very small.
So
island.
small.
Tiny island. And I have always been so dedicated to my Danish heritage because I am 100% Danish. And I know a lot about Danish food and Danish traditions. And I'm just so thankful that these traditions have been passed on to me and to my children and to my family. A couple of years ago, my husband and I went to this tiny island, and I have to say it was the most memorable, wonderful tradition in my life to be able to go back to the very island, the very home, the very church, the very neighborhood. We still have relatives on the island of Bornholm.
Wow.
And my husband, his mother's name is England, but he has Danish in it.
Okay. Grandpa, tell us about your heritage.
My heritage is quite dissimilar to Karen's. My heritage is from England. As she just mentioned, my mother's name was even England. As we go back and look at our genealogy, most of my relatives came from England. We had an opportunity to go to England when our daughter Heidi was there and look at some of the gravestone markings, and we know where my family came from in England. So I'm of that. And we didn't have as many traditions probably as the Danes had with being Christmas and whatnot, being so part of it. Yeah, so a little bit different in that we didn't have the same kind of traditions as she enjoyed. But now we have a blended family, and I enjoy some of the Danish traditions.
Yeah. Okay.
Life, I have believed in moderation in just about everything that you do. You have to be passionate about a lot of things, about work and family life and everything else. But there's a lot of things in life that get away from people when they become too involved and they go over the edge. So, you know, I think moderation in your lifestyles is a good thing, and I've always tried to have that as a big part of my life.
The first word that came to my mind when he started to talk is moderation. And I think that as a couple and as a family, we have lived in moderation. We're not radical in anything we do, but we're faithful. And the only thing I can say we're radical about is our family.
Yeah.
And we love our family, and fortunately, we have been blessed. And I never dreamed it would be in Colorado that we would have this dynasty that we have developed. But yeah, I will say the thing that I love the most is that my husband and I are kind of like a symphony, and I have my things that I do, and he has his things that he does, but it would be an ugly piece of music if it was only me or him, and we have blended our music. And I mean, we have been married for almost 54 years, and we are still making music.
You were in the military. When were you in the military, and what branch did you serve in?
I was, that's a good question. I was in Utah National Guard, and it was in the early 60s. I graduated from high school in 1960, and it was, I believe, 2 years later. At that point in time, every young man in the United States had a military obligation, a duty to serve. And you had, according to your birthday, whatever birthday, the lottery sort of picked out those numbers, and you could be first called or you could be the last called. But in those days, my number, I knew I was going to have to serve. And so I joined up. I didn't wait for a call. I joined the Utah National Guard, and I spent a long time in the Guard. I spent
6 months.
6 months active duty in the Army in Fort Ord, California, and then later on in Oklahoma. And our assignment was field artillery. And we shot great big cannons. They look like a tank, only the barrel is an 8-inch howitzer.
Wow.
Self-propelled, looked like a tank. So, and my specific job was to go out into the countryside and be on a hillside, and I would direct fire on the target that we were trying to. It was called fire direction control. And so that's what I did for my active duty period, and then I served for monthly meetings in my Guard unit until I was discharged.
Oh wow. Cool. Okay.